Hello children, welcome back to my channel. Today we will be studying the first poem of Hornbill textbook. The title of the poem is A Photograph by Shirley Tolson. This is a very poetic poem. It talks about memories that come flashing back when you look at a photograph. Those memories could bring back happy, cheerful times. Those memories could bring a tear to your eyes. Those memories could fill your heart with a longing. I'll not explain anything related to the poem at this time, but I'd just quickly go on to recite it as it is. So let's recite the poem and not explain it and try to delve into the beauty of this poem. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands. And she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. All three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. A sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Some 20-30 years later, she'd laugh at the snapshot and say, "See Betty and Dolly," she'd say, "and look how they dressed us up for the beach." The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter, both wry with the labor days of loss. Now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. And of this circumstance, there's nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences. While reciting it, it brings a gulp down my throat because it makes you realize how one misses one's mother when she's no longer alive. And when you look at that photograph, it swells up tears and it brings a gulp down your throat. So the poet has lost her mother, and this photograph reminds her of the way her mother had laughed on seeing that photograph. So it was a memory that brought happiness, and it also brought sadness. So it was a photograph which was very overwhelming for the poet. So now what questions arise after reading the poem? These are memories of her mother, no doubt. Is she alive? I guess she's not. What brings back her memories? It's the photograph. Who is in the photograph? We get an idea it's her mother and her two cousins. And if we recall, it's Betty and Dolly, the name of the two cousins. Is she happy? She is happy. Here the she refers to the mother. And why is she happy? And why is she not? Well, if we consider this she as the poet, you can say she is not happy because her mother was no longer alive. But if we consider this she as the mother when she saw the photograph, then she was happy because she found it funny to see the way they were dressed up. Who was laughing? It was the mother who was laughing when she saw the photograph. And is the poet troubled? Yes, she is. Because her mother is no longer alive. And she remembers the way her mother used to laugh on seeing that photograph. So let's learn something about the poet before we go on and further study the poem. So Shirley Tolson was born on the 20th of May 1924 in England, and she was a daughter of Douglas, of course, called Dixon, and Marjorie Brown. She was very passionate about creative writing, and somehow she was influenced by her father. She did her graduation in literature from Brockenhurst College in London in the year 1953, and then took up a career in writing. She served as the editor for many magazines, and in 1960 she married Alan Brown John. They had 3 children, but somehow they got divorced in 1969. She was greatly influenced by Celtic Christianity, and major works of hers are visible in Celtic Alternative in 1987 and the Celtic Year in 1993. These works added to her fame as a reputed writer. So we have an idea about the poet. Why do we study about the poet? Because no matter what writing we study, whether it's a novel, whether it's a play, whether it's a poem, whatever the child, I always have you children in my mind. Whenever the poet writes, there are certain aspects of his life that creep into his writing. And it may happen subconsciously, it may happen deliberately, because maybe he wants to write an autobiographical poem. So, learning about the author, about the poet, whenever you study a chapter helps a lot to understand what was the idea behind that piece of writing. So, let's look at these photographs. I just gathered them from the internet. And these photographs actually are, and some are photo frames, they are actually memories of a past you cherish, a past you long for, a past that may bring back happy memories, a past that may bring back sad memories. So these are all photographs that bring back family memories, occasions to cherish, happy, sad, or poignant. So what is a poem about? The poem is actually about the transience of human life and an irreparable loss. In this poem, the poet recalls her mother and her memories when she looks at a childhood photograph of herself when she was 12 years old. The mother has been dead for the last 12 years. And the poet cannot explain her grief on her mother's loss. What is the message the poem conveys? It conveys that memories stay alive. Okay, you have to cherish them. Death is a part of life, and one needs to move on. So let's go on to the first stanza, and I'll explain it stanza-wise. The cardboard shows me how it was when the 2 girl cousins went paddling. Fine? Each one holding one of my mother's hands. So the cardboard was the way the photograph was displayed at that time. That gives us an idea what era it might have been. Earlier, the cardboards were used for displaying memories. And what did the photograph show? It was the photograph of the poet's mother around 12 years or so, and her hands were being held by 2 girl cousins who later we get to know are named Betty and Dolly. Both of them had gone paddling. Paddling is when you are walking on the shore and your feet are splashing in the water. That is paddling. So they are walking by the side of the beach, and all 3 of them suddenly stood still to smile through their hair because it's a sea breeze. The hair is going to fall in front of their face, and the uncle who's also accompanied them for the beach holiday is clicking their photograph. The poet gives an explanation of how sweet her mother's face looks like in that photograph. And he says that was before I was born. At the same time, the poet deliberately juxtaposes the sea changelessness with the mother's change in her sweet face. And she says the sea appears to have changed less, and it washed their terribly transient feet. Why the terribly transient feet? Because this is indicative of the fact that man is not immortal, it's mortal, and his existence on this earth is temporary. He's not going to live here forever. So in that photograph, we can see that the mother's face is a very sweet face, whereas the sea is the same, but the mother has aged. So there is a contrast between mortality of man and the changelessness of the sea. So I hope you understand the first stanza. Coming to the second stanza, let me see how to go on to the second stanza. We'll find that terribly transient, again I have given a further more explanation of it. You can go through it at your own pace. And there's a description of how it was terribly transient. I have also explained it side by side. Coming to the second stanza, it was 20-30 years later that that means the mother, would have laughed at the snapshot. And they would have made fun that see how their parents had dressed them up for the beach. The sea holiday was her mother's past, while the poet's past was the way her mother had laughed. Both of them were really tired, and they were trying to draw comfort out of their loss with a lot of effort. So it becomes a oxymoron, because comfort is supposed to come without effort, but here they are drawing out comfort with a lot of effort. Coming to the next stanza, it's been around 12 years she's been dead, her mother. That's the age the girl lived. And of the circumstance, the death of her mother, she has nothing to say at all. Why? Because death is such a poignant episode in one's life that one can never ever muster up the courage to say anything at that time. It's an overwhelming situation. So children, I hope you've understood this explanation for the 3 stanzas of the poem. And in the second video, I'll be explaining the details of the figures of speech used and different aspects related to the poem, and keeping in mind what kind of questions could come for the exam. So I would like to say, try to see the next video so that you can gain more knowledge about the figures of speech used and also more explanation about the poet's intention. So see you soon, and I hope you visit my next video. Thank you.